So today is the day after Easter. If you're a pastor, I hope that you are resting while I am recording this. If you're a member of a church, remember that your pastor is exhausted today. It doesn't matter how many extra worship services they fit into the last week. Getting ready for Easter, hoping about what will happen on Easter in terms of how many people will come, how many lives might be changed by what happens, all of that is exhausting for pastors. When I was a pastor, I sometimes would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning or something because we would have Easter sunrise services and then a pancake breakfast and then another service, and it just goes on and on and on. Of course, now I'm not really sure whether being a pastor on Easter morning or a grandma on Easter morning is more exhausting. I've done both things and they're equally exhausting. If you have the responsibility at your house for providing for Easter, then you may have some of these little things like this lying around in your house, these little plastic Easter eggs. My house is kind of swamped with them this morning. They still need to be picked up. Now, you know that some of us feel the day after a holiday that we just can't wait to get back to normal. We like to have all that stuff picked up, put away, back to normal. Well, that was fun, but here we go back to real life. And you know that one of the gospel writers tells us that that's exactly what some of the followers of Jesus did the day after Easter. They just wanted to get back to real life. In fact, it was even that afternoon, still on Easter Day, when they just walked home, back to Emmaus, wanting to go home, getting back to normal. Well, that was fun while it lasted, but it's over with. And remember what happened to them. Someone joined them, who of course turns out to be Jesus, who explained all of it to them, who told them that this really had changed their lives. And when they invited him in to have dinner with them, and he took the bread and blessed it and broke it and gave it to them, that's when they realized that their lives were changed. Well, you may be familiar with another story, a story told by a Sunday school teacher. Now the story may be 20 or 30 years old. But this Sunday school teacher tells a story about Easter that has to do with little plastic eggs, maybe bigger than this, but the plastic eggs that we all know about at Easter time. This Sunday school teacher was very creative, and so one Easter he took his third grade Sunday school class, gave them all empty eggs, and told them to put something inside of the eggs that would remind them about Easter. He took them outside, it was warm enough to do that, and the kids filled them all with all kinds of things, then brought the eggs back in and opened them up one by one to show the rest of their class what was in their eggs. And some of the little girls had put flowers and pretty things in, and some of the boys had put kind of funny things in, like maybe even a worm or something like that. And they all told a story about why those things reminded them of Easter. And there was one little child in this class who had Down syndrome. And the class always included this child and also knew that sometimes they had to kind of accommodate the child when the child was answering questions, and knew that sometimes that child would not be able to answer in the same way the rest of them were. Well, it finally came to be that child's turn to open up his egg and to show what he had put in it. And so he opened it up, and there was nothing in it. The other children kind of laughed and said, "Oh, come on, you could have found something. Why didn't you put something into your egg?" But this child, whose abilities were a little different than the other children in his class, said, "No, it's empty. It's supposed to be empty. The tomb was empty." And all of the other children then understood that this friend of theirs had understood the assignment exactly. He had a symbol of Easter. Well, the way that Sunday school teacher ends the story is that the child did not live too much longer after that. All of the things that had been wrong with him through his little short life finally took his life. And so at his funeral, those little third graders went to the funeral, and each of them were given by their Sunday school teacher an empty egg to remind us all of what Easter really means. Once we know the story, we never go back to normal. It's never the same again because the tomb is empty, and that has changed our lives forever.